Question number 9, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by all his statements after almost 7 years as Prime Minister?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes, especially the one I just made, which was it's nice to hear the question read out in a baritone.
Order.
Supplementary, sir.
Supplementary question. Supplementary question. Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Supplementary, sir.
Supplementary question, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Does the Prime Minister stand by his statement that, quote, we're seen as a country that is doing its fair share on climate change when our net emissions have risen by 13% since he took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes, and we disagree with the fact that the member tried to present the House as it's incorrect.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Tim Groser.
To the Prime Minister on climate change. Prime Minister, can the Prime Minister confirm that New Zealand has met all of its international obligations, is on track to continue this until the end of the second commitment period, and is the only government in the world to have established an entire new science organisation devoted to the study of climate change and some real solutions?
Order. Questions, supplementary questions particularly, are meant to be concise. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes, and I thank the Minister for pointing that out.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
I seek leave of the House to table the latest UNFCCC document that demonstrates the accuracy of the figure of 13%.
Order. I presume that's freely available on the internet?
I think it's beyond the...
Order. No, I didn't ask that. Order. I'm not putting the leave. Does the member have further supplementary questions?
I do, sir.
Supplementary question, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
To the Prime Minister, are we doing our fair share when the 11% target we're taking to Paris, if emulated by all nations, will leave homeless some 179,000 people in Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Nauru and Tuvalu?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the target we're taking to Paris is 30% below a 2005 level by 2030.
Supplementary question, Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, sir. Are we doing our fair share when Climate Tracker describes New Zealand's commitment as, quote, not in line with any interpretation of a fair approach to reach a 2-degree pathway? If most other countries followed New Zealand's approach, global warming would exceed 3 to 4 degrees.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if one looks at the target that New Zealand is taking to Paris, it's a more aggressive target than being presented, for instance, by Australia, by Canada, by the United States, and I'd strongly suggest by some of the very, very large emitters in the world like India.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, the Dr. Kennedy Graham.
After 7 years in office, does the Prime Minister agree with climate scientist Professor Cornelis Bloch, who says that New Zealand has, quote, taken little or no action on climate change since 2008, except for watering down its ETS, and we can find no evidence of any policies that would change that?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no. For a start, this is government that actually bought the ETS in, Mr. Speaker, and the emissions are lower now than they were in 2007 under Labor.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
In light of his statements that he intends to have certain conversations with people in New York when he's there as part of the UN 70th celebrations, what conversations will he have with UN personnel or during an awaited pull-aside with President Barack Obama on New Zealand's contributions to the sustainable development goals to assist in climate change?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, many and varied.
Question number 10. Order. Question number 10, John O'Naylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Social Development. What progress has the government made on implementing the Children's Action Plan?